On Monday, April 20th, The Bold and the Beautiful looks packed with betrayal, family outrage, and a dangerous shift in loyalty. Ivy is no longer hiding what she did. Elektra is ready to explode, and the fallout may not stop with one broken relationship. Because once the truth is out, this story may become less about forgiveness, and more about revenge. The biggest twist in Monday's episode may not be that Ivy's secret is exposed. It may be the fact that she refuses to show any real regret. That changes everything. In many soap confrontations, the guilty person breaks down, tries to explain, or at least pretends to feel bad. But Ivy appears ready to do something far more provocative. She is expected to stand by her actions and argue that she was right to interfere in Elektra's love life. Not only that, but she may double down and insist she would do it all over again. That is what makes this so explosive. Ivy truly believes Will is wrong for Elektra. In her mind, this was never cruelty for the sake of cruelty. It was intervention. It was control disguised as protection. And that is where the emotional conflict becomes so rich, because Ivy may honestly see herself as the only person willing to make the hard choice for Elektra's future. But the problem is obvious. Elektra never asked for that choice to be made for her. That is why Monday's confrontation could hit so hard. Once Elektra realizes Ivy not only took the letter, but deliberately manipulated the breakup, the betrayal becomes deeply personal. This is no misunderstanding. This is not a mistake. This is a calculated move from someone inside the family circle. And when betrayal comes wrapped in the language of love, it often hurts even more. On the surface, Elektra has every reason to be furious about the missing letter and the breakup scheme. But emotionally, this may go much deeper than one act of sabotage. This is about control. Elektra may feel humiliated by the idea that Ivy saw her as someone too naive to make her own romantic decisions. That kind of interference does more than end a relationship. It sends a message. It tells Elektra that her feelings were not respected, her judgment was not trusted, and her voice did not matter. That is why her anger may come out with such force when Monday begins. And honestly, it should. Because if Ivy admits she intentionally drove a wedge between Elektra and Will for what she believed was a better future, Elektra may hear something much colder underneath those words. She may hear that Ivy values control more than honesty. That Ivy decided the outcome first, then manipulated the path to get there. That is the real wound here. The interesting question is whether Elektra's rage will stay focused on Ivy alone, or whether this revelation will make her reevaluate everyone around her. Once someone discovers they have been manipulated, suspicion tends to spread. Suddenly, every past conversation can feel questionable. Every warning can feel loaded. Every relationship can seem a little less safe. And that may be the true aftershock of Monday's episode. While Ivy and Elektra deal with emotional devastation, Will and RJ are expected to keep clashing at Forrester. But this conflict now feels bigger than a simple romantic rivalry. It is turning into a battle over identity, class, and legacy. That is why the dialogue in these scenes could matter just as much as the possibility of another physical confrontation. RJ reportedly keeps going after the Spencer name, insulting Will and taking aim at his family. That already makes the conflict more personal. But when Will fires back by bringing up the Marone connection and questioning RJ's Forrester legitimacy, the fight enters even more dangerous territory. Because now both sides are attacking bloodlines. And in this world, family names are not just names. They are status. They are history. They are ammunition. That is what makes this feud feel so combustible. These are not two young men simply trading insults over a girl. They are using family pride as a weapon, and once that happens, backing down becomes much harder. Every insult demands a response. Every jab raises the stakes. Even if Monday avoids another full-blown brawl, the tension may still feel like a ticking clock. And there is something else worth noticing here. Will's attack on RJ's identity suggests he is emotionally rattled enough to stop playing nice. That could be important, because if Will learns the full truth about Ivy's manipulation while he is already angry and defensive, his response may be fierce. He may not just confront Ivy. He may destroy whatever excuse she tries to hide behind. Here is where the story may become even more interesting. The real downfall for Ivy may not happen in the moment of exposure. It may begin after she realizes she has lost Elektra anyway. That is the cruel irony in this storyline. Ivy manipulated everything because she believed she knew what was best. But instead of securing Elektra's future, she may end up shattering her relationship with her completely. And once that emotional damage becomes undeniable, Ivy may need someone else to blame. That is where Daphne comes in. Because Daphne is the one who helped point Elektra toward the truth. Daphne may have believed she was doing the right thing, and from a moral standpoint, she probably was. But from Ivy's perspective, Daphne may become the woman who ruined everything. Not because Ivy is innocent. Not because Daphne caused the original betrayal. But because blaming Daphne may be easier than facing the consequences of her own choices. And that is such a classic soap pivot. When a manipulator gets exposed, they often stop defending the original lie and start targeting the person who revealed it. If Monday begins that shift, then viewers should pay close attention. Ivy's fury may not end with Elektra's rejection. It may only be redirected. Daphne may think the hardest part is over once the truth is exposed. But that may be exactly when her real trouble begins. Because Ivy does not look like someone who will quietly accept defeat. If Ivy starts seeing Daphne as enemy number one, then this story could evolve into something much more dangerous emotionally. Not necessarily one loud explosion at first, but a colder, more deliberate rivalry. One built on resentment, one fueled by humiliation, one that grows because Ivy feels cornered, judged, and replaced. That is what gives this storyline future momentum. Daphne acted out of conscience. Ivy acted out of control. But soap conflicts do not stay clean for long. Once personal blame enters the picture, motives get twisted. The truth becomes secondary. What matters then is who feels betrayed, who wants revenge, and who is willing to cross the next line. And Ivy may be closer to that next line than anyone around her realizes. That is why Monday's episode feels like more than a simple reveal. It feels like the start of a darker emotional spiral. Elektra may cut Ivy off. Will may go on the attack. RJ may keep escalating. And Daphne may suddenly find herself targeted by a woman who no longer has anything left to lose. So as Monday, April 20th unfolds on The Bold and the Beautiful, this may turn out to be far more than the day Ivy's secret is finally exposed. It may be the moment everything around her starts collapsing at once. Because once the truth is spoken out loud, there is no taking it back. Elektra may never look at Ivy the same way again. What Ivy saw as protection, Elektra may see as betrayal at the deepest level. And that kind of damage is not easy to repair, especially when Ivy is not even showing real remorse. At the same time, Will's reaction could push this story into even more dangerous emotional territory. Once he realizes just how far Ivy went to destroy his future with Elektra, he may not stay silent. And if Will goes after Ivy while tensions with RJ are already boiling over, the fallout could spread fast through multiple relationships at once. But perhaps the most interesting twist is what happens next. Because if Ivy refuses to blame herself, then someone else may become the target of all that rage. And right now, Daphne may be standing directly in the line of fire. If Ivy decides Daphne is the one who ruined everything by exposing the truth, then this could be the beginning of a brand new war. One driven by resentment, humiliation, and revenge. That is why Monday, April 20th feels like such a pivotal episode. This is not just the end of a secret. It may be the beginning of a much darker chain reaction. One confession, one confrontation, and suddenly loyalties shift, trust is shattered, and new enemies begin to emerge. So what do you think is coming next? Will Elektra cut Ivy out of her life for good? Will make Ivy regret every move she made? Or will Daphne become the next woman forced to face Ivy's fury? Let me know in the comments which fallout will hit the hardest after April 20th. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more the bold and the beautiful spoilers, theories, and deep dive drama analysis.